guard down in a sense. So it's an interesting...
It is a dangerous idea. I prefer to say that it's a powerful...
Well, some say that magic can be defined as any process that people don't understand how it works. And if that's the case, then actual magic and logistics do have something in common. But let's find out if there's more of a connection in my conversation today with Joe Turner. He is, and get ready for this, Chief Impossibility Officer with TurnerMagic.com. Joe, welcome.
Hi, Bob.
How interesting to have you with us today. Thanks for being with us. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your story in terms of your background in magic and how you first discovered your love for it?
Well, certainly magic is, I guess, a phase that a lot of people go through when they're a child. You know, you're 5 or 6 years old and you see, well, in my case, Doug Henning or someone like that on television. Most of us grow out of it. I guess I was one of the lucky ones who didn't. I kept an interest in it throughout my childhood and adolescence and even into adulthood. It was sort of a hobby in the background. Opportunities presented themselves to bring it into my social life when I was in the corporate world, and about 14 years ago, I had the opportunity to take it full time and work as a professional speaker and entertainer. It's taken me all over the world.
Yeah, you know, as you say, a lot of kids start out being interested in magic, and then all of a sudden they reach the point and they go, hey, this is hard. This is going to take a lot of work. This is going to take a lot of practice. I don't want to do this, and so they're on to something else. But you were one of those few who said you're willing to do the work.
Well, like anything worthwhile, there's some process involved, and it takes time to master the processes. I wish I could say that I had stayed with it straight through my entire life, but it was peaks and valleys. I didn't do it continuously, but as I said, it was always a latent interest. But what you've hit on there is really interesting, the fact that it does take work and it only looks like magic. And whether you're in logistics or any other industry, when you do something that amazes your audience, whether it's customers or suppliers or vendors or employees, whoever your audience is, if you do something that's amazing to them, it may look effortless, it may look like magic, but behind the scenes there's a whole lot of work going on.
Yeah, and of course that probably didn't occur to you at the beginning. It was just kind of the dazzling part of it, that you had to come to realize that magic actually had some content to it or some philosophy behind it as well, right?
I would say that there's something beguiling about the applause, and certainly any person who works in the theater as an actor or performer, singer, we sort of thrive on that element of it. So absolutely there's that part that is beyond the content. It's just sort of the appreciation of the art. But if you come to magic and performing I come from a consulting career, management consulting career, and you start to see that there are connections in the way that human beings interpret stories. Whether you're in a branding and advertising and marketing environment, or whether you're in some sort of leadership role, or if you're, whatever the industry is, you've got an audience. And the way that you communicate your message, your goals, your vision, the changes that are happening in your industry to your audience, they respond. Human beings are wired to process stories, and so if you can latch on to those elements of the theater that help you to be a better storyteller, you will get your message across more effectively.
But it's an interesting relationship you have with the audience, isn't it? Because in a way, we're dazzled by the illusion. We love the illusion. We think we want to know how it was done. Then we find out and it's like, oh really? Oh, you mean you spent 1,000 hours in a room all by yourself? That's how it was done? Or you created this incredibly elaborate machine or complex in order to do it? And suddenly it just seems a little less wonderful. But I guess we're torn between that wanting to know but not wanting to know.
There's a dichotomy, there's no question. Special effects are different when seen live in a magic performance or an illusion performance as compared to film or television. You don't leave Star Wars really just baffled about, well, how does the spaceship fly or how does the lightsaber work, because it's embedded in the story in a different way. It's not happening live and in person on stage. Magic and illusion as a live performing art certainly invite those kinds of questions about, well, how can he possibly do that? I'm 5 feet away or 50 feet away or 500 feet away. It's happening live. But people think they want to know, as you said, and eventually some find out. That's fine. It's the Magic Circle in London is a magic association, and one of their sort of sayings, the wisdom is the doorway to magic is closed, but it's not locked. And so if people are willing to put in the effort and sacrifice maybe a few hundred hours to break through, thousands, but to start, you know, you find yourself that there's a kid who's 10 years old and they want to see what's behind the curtain. And we don't say no forever. It's just you show some effort and you show some interest, and bit by bit, the roadway appears in front of you.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting, though, that of all the entertainment arts, in a way, magic is essentially, you're lying to the audience. They know they're being lied to. They're enjoying the lie. And yet at the same time, behind your magic is some content. You're telling a truth underneath the lie. So you talk about kind of how that paradox works and what kind of a message that you're trying to convey in the course of fooling people.
Right. Well, let me back up to the word lie, and I prefer fiction.
Okay.
Fiction is not a lie, it's an art form, and the things that are happening in it aren't really true in a historical sense or a narrative sense, but you're creating, as I say, a special effect. I think that instead of lying or deception, I like to focus on the word mystery. Mystery is a valuable thing. A mystery is a beautiful thing, and it's engaging to the imagination. It starts thought processes that may not normally be in play, and a person is there being deductive about things from point A to point B, and they're using logic to establish what's going to happen next. A mystery can create a moment where imagination can have its reign and free reign. So the connection between that and whether when I'm sharing content with an audience, it's really, as I say, it goes back to using mystery as a way to break through this defensive posture, this defense mechanism that we have about the way we judge the information that's coming in. We're very pattern oriented. We're creatures of habit. We're used to processing information in a certain way, and that allows us to filter things in a certain way very quickly. And certainly intelligent people may be even more prone to do that than others in the general public. The further you go and the more you've experienced, the more likely you are to judge information quickly and parse it out. What magic does, what mystery does, is allow me to pierce through that. Just for a moment, the world stops working in the way that you're used to, and whether you're in a leadership setting or a sales setting or a teaching setting or education setting, that moment is a very teachable moment. The barriers have broken down, and that's a good opportunity to share a message that will be sticky.
So we've let our guard down in a sense. So it's an interesting assumption that the audience comes to hear you say something, but there's something about us inside that is going to reject the message outright unless you find a way into us and to challenge our assumptions in such a way that maybe you will change our mind.
Well,
dangerous idea.
It is a dangerous idea. I prefer to say that it's a powerful idea. It's a tool, and all tools can be used for good or for ill, and I leave it to my audience to decide which I've accomplished. But my goal is to use magic to help people understand better how they can be amazing and impactful with their own audiences.
Okay, so let's talk about specifically the application to the business world, because you do a lot of shows and you're talking to executives out there. What types of messages can you convey to the business world that your magic helps you put across?
Well, I will tell you, before I came to delivering my own messages, this kind of grew from the fact that my clients were asking me to deliver their messages. I would get calls from clients that were doing maybe a product launch or a trade show, some kind of exhibit, and they were aware of my background in the change management consulting and training fields. And so, well, can you use what you're doing to kick off our conference or to draw people to our trade show booth or to help put some marketing messages around this? So that got me on the road of, well, how do I use this art form, this entertainment, to convey content and meaning? And as I did, I really latched on to the idea that, well, there are different ways that people are amazed. When you see a magic show that has texture, an illusion show in Vegas, or a sleight of hand show, or mentalism, whatever the case may be, there's different kinds of experiences that happen in the course of that show. It's not all pick a card, here's your card, and now let's have another card picked and find that. You don't do the same thing over and over. There's levels and textures. Well, so things are amazing for different reasons in a magic show. And what I've done is really investigate that and think about, well, those types of amazing experiences have parallels in the way that we want to communicate with our audiences. So if I want to engage with my audience, whether it's about my brand, whether it's about some change that's happening in my industry, whether it's about some organizational change that's happening in my own country, own company, whatever the case may be, I've got a message. I want to communicate it to them. I want them to latch onto it and be amazed by it. I want it to stick in their mind. Maybe it's something they'll think about later. Are there lessons from the theater and from magic specifically that I can use to make my message connect more effectively? The answer is yes.
So what do the lessons relate to what? To things like how to be a leader in business, how to collaborate within a company, how to work together. I mean, those kinds of messages, can they be put across in this way?
Yes, they can. Sometimes I will steer specifically to a message that's relating to a collaboration theme, for example. But the main idea is I'm looking at business competencies that individuals and departments and organizations and brands can deliver. The way that they communicate, the way that they share their expertise, the way that they maybe empower people within their purview to break the conventional wisdom at the right moments for the right reasons, so that the people on the other side have experienced a story that they want to go tell other people.
Okay, but you're here at a logistics and distribution conference, a lot of executives in that discipline. What are some of the specific lessons you can apply to this industry? Do you have a message for them that relates directly to their industry, or is it more of a general business consultancy kind of?
Today, I have spoken in a lot of more general business consultancy roles. What I want to say to the people in logistics and distribution is that don't ignore the relationship that business, that your specific industry has with the idea of communicating through storytelling. It may seem that the people that are used to hearing messages in this sphere aren't going to be open to that kind of communication, but human beings want to hear and latch on to stories, and they're going to tell those stories.
Joe Turner, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, and interesting to hear how the world of magic does intersect with the world of business, and specifically logistics and distribution. Thanks so much for being with us
Thanks
today.
for the opportunity.
Well, I've been speaking with Joe Turner of TurnerMagic.com. Thank you very much for watching.